I'm Sid Roth. Welcome to my world, where it's naturally supernatural. My guest is an expert in terrorism, and he is going to speak about secret papers that have been found that show for the plans of terrorist organizations to destroy the United States of America. And it won't be a secret anymore. My guest, Erick Stakelbeck, is one of the foremost experts in terrorism. And you've probably seen Erick on CNN or on Fox or a number of different shows in which he's a resource for what's going on in the world. But the thing that just absolutely astounds me is I knew something about a terrorist group called the Muslim Brotherhood, but I had no idea, Erick. Tell me a bit about the Muslim Brotherhood. Why does the media, our administration, posture them as moderate? What's the reason for that?
Well, Sid, first of all, their tactics. They dress like you and I. They wear suits and ties. They are eloquent. They are Western educated. They speak fluent English. This is not Al-Qaeda. These are not the guys with the flowing beards and the robes and the AK-47s. The Muslim Brotherhood are very charming, Sid, and I've interviewed them face to face. I've been in their homes. I've been in their mosques. I've been in their offices. And Sid, if I didn't know any better, I would actually like them. They are quite charming, but that charming facade and veneer hides a sinister agenda, Sid. And at the end of the day, they share the same goals as Al-Qaeda.
Well, you know what it reminds me of as you're sharing this, Erick, the KKK. They used to wear the robes, right, and now they put on business suits. And so are they college educated?
Sid,
are
not
they
only
bright?
are they... Yes, Sid, not only are they college educated, many of them have been educated in the West, in the United States, in Europe. People would be shocked to know about the Muslim Brotherhood presence in the United States. Sid, they are here. I'll give you a great example. Mohammed Morsi, the now deposed Egyptian president, he joined the Muslim Brotherhood not in Egypt, but in the United States, in California, when he was a student at USC, the University of Southern California. That's where Mohammed Morsi became a Muslim brother. Sid, they are here in the United States.
Now, you say they're a new breed beyond the suit. Yeah. They're raising homegrown terrorists? What do you mean?
Sid, we've seen case after case over the past few years in the United States, dozens of cases of young American Muslims, U.S. citizens, being arrested on terrorism charges. Sid, I'll give you a great example of this Muslim Brotherhood-style link and how they're really the driving force behind all the Islamic terror we see today. The Boston bombers, those two young brothers up in Boston, killed 3 people, wounded 264 more. Sid, they attended a mosque in the Boston area controlled by a Muslim Brotherhood-linked group. Surprise, surprise.
Now, I heard in the news that the Muslim Brotherhood has been out to the White House at least 100 times in the last calendar year.
You said Muslim Brotherhood connected individuals with strong ties to the global Muslim Brotherhood network absolutely are advising our government, the U.S. government, on its counterterrorism and Middle East policies. This is the epitome of the fox guarding the henhouse. And you wonder why America's Middle East policies right now are kind of a mess and we see all this chaos in the Middle East. We have the bad guys, the Brotherhood, in the halls of power, in our lawmakers' ears.
All right, you use the phrase, they're the granddaddy of all terrorism. Do you really mean that, Erick?
Sid, I mean it 100%. All of the terrorist chaos, the madness we see today, the war on terror, Al-Qaeda, Hamas, spawned by the Muslim Brotherhood, Sid. Al-Qaeda is an offshoot of the Brotherhood. Hamas is an offshoot of the Brotherhood. And Sid, I've made the point many times that without the creation of the Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt in 1928, there would have been no 9/11. I say that without hesitation. It may shock some people, but everyone behind the 9/11 attack, Sid, and the American people need to know this, why this group is so important, the Brotherhood. Osama bin Laden, Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, the hijackers, every last one of them, Sid, before they formed Al-Qaeda, they belonged to the Muslim Brotherhood. The Brotherhood is really the gateway drug to Islamic terrorism and jihad.
What is going on in America? I see mosques just sprouting up all over.
Sid, this is not a coincidence. I'm so glad you brought this up because the number of mosques in America, a lot of our viewers might not be aware of this, the number of mosques in America has actually doubled since 2000, since the year 2000. Now, if you look at the Muslim Brotherhood strategic documents, and by the way, Sid, these mosques are not just in New York City, Chicago, Los Angeles, areas with large Muslim populations. They're popping up in the Bible Belt, taking overseas funding. Why, Sid, if you have such a small Muslim community, why do you need such a large, sprawling mosque complex? The imams, and I've interviewed them, they can't answer, and they also can answer where the money is coming from.
Okay, why do they need so many in these small areas?
Sid, if you look at the Muslim Brotherhood strategic documents, and by the way, people might be shocked to know that our government, the U.S. government, has the Muslim Brotherhood's documents in its possession. These secret documents, Sid, that I've written about. Long story short, during the raid of a leading global Muslim Brotherhood operative's home, just outside of Washington, D.C., 10 minutes from our capital, this guy had set up shop. The FBI raided his home. They uncovered these secret Muslim Brotherhood documents that outline a strategy to, quote, destroy Western civilization, America, from within. And one way they're going to do that, Sid, according to their own documents, is to build mosques from coast to coast. This is a central tenet of the Brotherhood's strategic plan to subvert America from within.
And how come there's these schools of Islam springing up at major universities? I mean, how does Harvard have a school of Islam? It used to be a Jewish university.
Yeah, right.
How's Georgetown, a Catholic university, have all these schools?
It's the money, Sid. Look at the money trail. This Georgetown Islamic branch you discuss at Georgetown University, a Catholic university, $20 million. Harvard, $20 million, came from the same man, a Saudi prince. And the Saudis are the main purveyors, you would say, of spreading radical Islam worldwide. And it's very interesting. They have billions of dollars in these petrodollars, Sid, with this oil empire they have in Saudi Arabia. And they are missionaries in many ways, spreading Islam throughout Europe, throughout America, billions and billions of dollars over the past few decades. And they have worked with the Muslim Brotherhood, by the way. The Saudis provide the money. The Brotherhood provides the imams and the ideologues at these mosques. That has been the blueprint traditionally. Very interesting strategy they have.
One last question. Is it true that the Quran says when you're small, when Islam is small, be peace-loving. Once you get larger, take over?
This is the example of Muhammad himself, Sid. It's absolutely true. When Muhammad was not a political leader, when he was just a struggling so-called prophet in the city of Mecca, Muhammad was more conciliatory towards Jews and Christians. He wanted to win them to his side. Later on in his career, Sid, he went to the city of Medina, became a warrior, a political leader. All of a sudden, his so-called revelations changed and became more violent and more intolerant of Christians and Jews. Once Muhammad gained the power, he became much more intolerant and violent towards non-Muslims.
I want to talk about these secret documents when we come back. Now, before we get to the secret documents to take over the United States and Europe by the Muslim Brotherhood that have been uncovered, I believe it was the Swiss that found these secret documents. Tell me a bit about the history of the Muslim Brotherhood.
Well, Sid, from the beginning of this group, the Muslim Brotherhood, they've been steeped in violence and the ideology of martyrdom, of dying for Allah. Their founding creed reads in part, "Jihad is our way. Dying in the way of Allah is our highest hope." This is their founding motto.
Stop for a second. Yeah. Moderate. How do you call that moderate? I don't get it, Eric.
You know, they say that
that's not a Democratic line. Sure. It's not a Republican line. Sure. Both Republicans and Democrats call them moderate.
Without a doubt.
Is that still their goal?
Yes, Sid, that goal. And when Muslim Brotherhood leaders darken the halls of the White House today, that remains their motto. They've never changed it since 1928 when they were founded. Jihad is our way. Dying in the way of Allah is our highest hope. And Sid, from the beginning of this organization, founded in Egypt in 1928, 7 members. Within 20 years, it grew to within 1 and 2 million members. Within only 20 years of its founding, from the beginning, they lived up to that motto, Sid. They harassed the Jews of Egypt. They worked in particular with the Nazis. They worked, Sid, did the Muslim Brotherhood, with Hitler's war machine to extend the final solution from Europe to the Jews of the Middle East and North Africa. The Brotherhood actually sent battalions When Israel was miraculously reborn in 1948, the Brotherhood sent battalions to fight against the new Jewish state. They assassinated Egyptian leaders, assassinated an Egyptian prime minister. This is an organization steeped in violence who, by the way, Sid, not only did they spawn al-Qaeda, but Hamas, which has killed American citizens, which kills Jewish women and children on a daily basis, they self-identify themselves as the Palestinian branch of the Muslim Brotherhood. Hamas is the Muslim Brotherhood.
Now, were they involved in the assassination of Sadat?
Muslim Brotherhood members absolutely, Sid. In 1981, former Egyptian President Anwar Sadat, Muslim Brotherhood members participated in the killing of Sadat a few years after he struck that peace treaty between Egypt and Israel.
That was the reason.
That was the reason, Sid. The Brotherhood never let him live it down, and they had a bullseye on his back.
Okay, tell me about the secret documents to totally destroy the United States.
Well, you have two. It's very interesting, Sid. You have, on one hand, documents found in North America, outside of Washington, as we were discussing, but then you have the Project. That's a document that you referenced, discovered by Swiss authorities right after 9/11. Now, Swiss authorities conducted a raid of a leading Brotherhood operative's home in a luxurious villa, I might add. These guys, again, they're living the high life in many cases. And this document has become known as the Project. And what it is a Muslim Brotherhood secret plan to dominate Europe, dominate America. And what they're going to do, Sid, is mass immigration, number one, proselytizing, number two, number three, building mosques across Europe, across America, and number four, key point here, Sid, get jobs in the halls of power, in the media, academia, government. We're seeing it in Europe, we're seeing it in the U.S., also working with like-minded, perhaps not ideologically similar, but the left, for instance, in Europe and America. We see the Brotherhood working closely with the political left.
No, wait a second. The political left is not going to be aligned with someone that wants to kill homosexuals. I mean, no, it doesn't make sense, Eric.
Sid, it makes no sense, right? Strange bedfellows. Everyone at home's probably thinking the left would be the first ones with their heads on the chopping block if Islamic Sharia law came into power. But here's the sticking point.
Is that their goal?
That is their goal. Sharia law for one and all, whether we like it or not.
What's going to happen, bottom line, to women?
Well, there will be no women's right, and every women's right, Sid, and every woman from
so how's
small
the
to
far
large.
left get
Sid,
together with
it makes our heads might explode here on set trying to wrap our heads around this. Here's the deal, Sid, and here's the key point people at home need to remember. Why would radical Islamists who want Sharia law and hardcore radical leftists who want, I guess, a Marxist utopia, why would they work together? They seem like strange bedfellows. Sid, they share a common foe, Judeo-Christian Western civilization. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. That old adage. They hate traditional America, traditional Judeo-Christian Western civilization, which is based on the Ten Commandments. They hate it so much. They hate the name of Yeshua, Jesus, so much that they will work together, at least in the short term, to chip away at traditional America and traditional Western civilization.
When we come back from the break, I want to find out about the next war in the Middle East. I also want you to realize a man by the name of Adolf Hitler wrote a book called Mein Kampf, in which he outlined everything he was going to do. No one took him serious. We have an outline of what the Muslim Brotherhood is planning, their strategy. Let's take them serious. When we come back, I also want to find out when God spoke to Eric and told him what his calling was. Eric, 2008. You're in my favorite city in the world, Jerusalem, at the Western Wall. And God speaks to you. What did he tell you?
Wow, Sid, my favorite city in the world as well, and my first time ever in Israel. I set foot in Jerusalem, a lifelong dream. I'm looking at the Western Wall, and God has never spoken to me audibly yet, but he has spoken to my heart, and that day he spoke to my heart in a powerful way. And he said 3 words, Sid, clearly, help my people. And there was not a doubt in my mind he meant the Jewish people. Not only in Israel, but around the world. And all of a sudden, Sid, my whole life began to make sense. Why am I in this field? Counter-terrorism, anti-jihad. Why am I doing this? Why my whole life did I have Jewish friends, coaches, mentors, in my life? Why this lifelong passion for Israel when my father was a Christian Zionist who taught me to love Israel and love the land of Israel? Why? Finally, it all made sense to me as I was in Jerusalem, and God spoke to my heart in a powerful way.
Okay, what will trigger the next war in the Middle East?
3 potential triggers, Sid, and here they are. Number 1, the ongoing chaos in Egypt, which our good friends, the Muslim Brotherhood, are in the middle of. That chaos in Egypt could spill over Egypt's borders, pull in Israel. Then we have Syria, Israel's other neighbor. 100,000 people at this point, Sid, killed in that civil war in Syria. That could spill over, pull Israel and Syria's neighbors in. The third and most likely trigger, Sid, beyond Egypt, beyond Syria, and probably the most likely, Iran's nuclear weapons program. Iran is very, very close to acquiring a nuclear bomb.
Okay, Israel doesn't want this for obvious reasons. Why is the U.S. dragging their feet?
They believe, Sid, that we can negotiate with the Iranians. We can talk to these guys. They're diplomatic. We can talk them down from the nuclear ledge, Sid, and talk some reason into the Iranians.
Why is that impossible, in your opinion?
Their ideology, Sid. You can't discuss Iran without discussing their ideology. What is that ideology? It's an ideology of martyrdom, of ushering in the end times, the return of the Islamic Messiah. Sid, I'll give you a great example. This might shock everyone at home. During the 1980s, the Iran-Iraq War, 1 million people killed. The Iranian mullahs, the same guys in charge of that country now, sent thousands of young Iranian boys, as young as 10 years old, to clear minefields. They put plastic keys around their necks, Sid, and told them, these are the keys to paradise. If you just clear that minefield, kill yourself, tonight you'll be in paradise with Allah. I'm sorry, Sid, I don't think you can negotiate with people who put such a low value on human life as this Iranian regime does.
So what is their plan with these nuclear bombs that they're just literally months away from having developed?
Sid, their plan, number 1, is to wipe Israel off the map, but American viewers especially need to understand, in the Iranian ideology, Israel is only the little Satan. It's America that is the great Satan and the ultimate prize. America has a bullseye on its back, Sid, and once Iran is done with Israel, and I've read the Bible, so I know that's not going to happen, but if Iran were to succeed in its plans to wipe Israel off the map, they wouldn't just pack up their bags and go home, Sid. They'd come for America, they'd come for Europe next. People need to understand that Israel is the first line of defense for Western civilization. Really, they're the canary in the coal mine in this fight against radical Islam.
Okay, does Iran have this new EMP technology?
This is a scary thing that they have tested, Sid. EMP stands for electromagnetic pulse, and what that is, it sounds almost like a science fiction movie, but what they would do is fire a nuclear missile into the atmosphere above the United States. The missile detonates above a city, say New York City, Washington, D.C., and it fries everything below, Sid. The electrical grid is fried, your car won't run, your cell phone won't work. We're back in the 1800s. Iran has tested this technology, Russia, China, North Korea, all working with it, and our government on Capitol Hill, Sid, there has not been the will to harden our electrical grid to guard against this kind of attack.
How does oil play into all of this?
Well, at the end of the day, as we know, the Muslim world controls a good amount of the world's oil supply. And the scary thing is, I'll give you 2 examples, Sid. Number 1, the Suez Canal of Egypt. Now, a good amount of the world's oil passes through the Middle East every day on its way to America and Europe. So if that Suez Canal was shut down by terrorists, that affects the whole global economy. Everyone watching this show right now would feel it in their pocketbook, feel it every time they go to the oil and gas pump. Oil and gas prices would skyrocket. The global economy would take a major hit if that Suez Canal is shut down. And the other thing to keep in mind with OPEC, mainly Muslim nations, if this Islamic, I call it, well, I don't just call it, history calls it a caliphate, the Islamic caliphate, a united Muslim states, every Muslim nation united militarily, politically, economically, controlling a good supply of the world's oil. That is the goal, this caliphate for the Brotherhood, for Iran, whether they're Shia, Sunni, Al-Qaeda, this is what they want. And if they join forces, Sid, they will control a good chunk of the world's oil supply. That's very bad for us here in the West.
Well, you know, we're hearing all of these things. As far as I'm concerned, Israel and America are in the same boat, and it's not an accident. Jews and Christians are in the same boat, and it's not an accident. I see this as God's greatest moment, and I'm going to give you a supernatural solution for yourself, for your family, for your city. It's Psalm 122, verse 6, which says, pray for the peace of Jerusalem. And the word peace in Hebrew, shalom, can mean completeness. What is the completeness of Jerusalem? Jew and Gentile, one in Jesus, one in Yeshua, one in Messiah. But it goes on, it says, pray for the completeness of Jerusalem. They shall prosper that love thee. In the Hebrew, the word prosper means more than money can buy. It means heart peace. God promises to you that if you will pray for the completeness and safety of Jerusalem, God will give you heart peace. I'm not worried about Israel. I'm very concerned about the United States and the rest of the world, because God says, I will bless those who bless the Jewish people, and if you're blessing the Jewish people, 1,000 can fall at your left hand, 10,000 at your right hand. But the Word of God says, it will not come near you. Pray for the peace of Jerusalem. Thou shalt prosper. Thou shalt have heart peace that love thee.